Hey, what's up, everybody? Greetings. Thanks to Arlinda and the crew for having me on the panel today. My name is Brian Calhoun. I'm based in Atlanta. I have sort of three primary things that I'm working on. I work with Pandora, a music streaming platform. I work in the work with artist relations, artist marketing, and industry relations team to help artists maximize use of their platform. I work with a number of artists and labels to help them with their digital strategy, and I work closely with the Blueprint Group, and my clients include Lil Wayne, G-Eazy, The Roots, Jill Scott, Brandy, TIG, and others. And I also wrote a book and created tools to help independent musicians manage their business called the Music Business Toolbox, and it's at musicbusinesstoolbox.com.
Go ahead, J1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is J1. I am the Director of Hip Hop Programming and Content for Pandora. Also do work on SiriusXM, and I've been in the music business for plus 15 years.
Mr. Griggs.
Hey everyone, glad to see you all. Thanks so much, Arlinda, for putting this panel on. It's great to see it and putting the conference on. It's great to see it grow and help so many executives and future executives make moves in the industry. I've been in the entertainment industry for definitely over 20 years, starting out on the radio side. As of late, I started an agency called Modern Artisans Creative, and we help artists and other people actually grow their tribe. We help them build their web presence, grow their web presence, and help them capture and attach themselves to their audiences and help that grow. I'm based out of Los Angeles, by the way.
Okay, period. And finally, Mr. Kelby
Cannick. Kelby Cannick, publisher of Making It Magazine, founder of the membership. Just an advocate for independence. So we have a magazine. We've been publishing for 13 years. We got a membership, kind of a organization that helps independents attain opportunities to help them be successful. We've gotten a lot of independent artists in situations where they found investors, gotten deals, gotten considerable amounts of exposure, and started making money off of their music.
So, okay, so again, thank you guys for the panelists. I appreciate it. I'm gonna ask you, I want to first start off the conversation, just getting to know you. You guys told me a little bit about yourselves, but I think the greatest part of the journey in music, because like no journey is alike, and I think the greatest part is just trying to get there versus actually getting there. So I do want to talk to each one of you, not briefly, because it's kind of hard to put your life in like a small briefness, but I definitely want you guys to open up and tell me like what steps did you take to get to where you are now. It doesn't matter who starts.
I can be real brief. I started computer programming when I was like 12 or 13, and that wasn't cool back in the 90s. So when I got to high school, I was like, man, I'm about to start rapping. Like, and so I started rapping when I was like 16, 17 years old. But I applied like what I learned from computers and technology to music. I dropped my first project when I was 17, like in 2000, when I was 17. I took a $10 investment, turned it into $26,000 in 11 months. Like from there, I just always rapped. I started my first studio, started my first magazine, and this is like back in Indianapolis, Indiana. So when I was rapping as an independent artist, I never made less than $40,000 a year. So it's like my philosophy has always been for independent artists is like, before you try to make a killing, learn how to make a living. And so I've always, everything that I do is about helping people achieve practical success to give them a platform to then reach for the impractical success.
Next, I want to know each of you, like how you guys got started into your success of your position that you have now.
Your mic phased out. Say that again.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, cool. So go ahead. Since you're talking to me, go ahead and let me know how you got started in the industry. Like, what was your first industry job, and how did you get to where you are now?
I actually started in the industry before working as a college radio jock. But from that, I actually got my first step in the industry from stepping away from being an intern from Warner Brothers to them hiring me to work some of their records and work for some of their artists as a consultant for urban adult contemporary records.
Next, day one.
So I actually started out as a DJ here in Atlanta. I was fortunate enough to get on Hot 107.9 as an intern slash mixer, and just worked my way up. Got to the level of program director. I ran stations out in Indianapolis and most recently Washington, D.C. And then I was recruited by Pandora in the beginning of 2019.
Congrats, congrats.
Mr. Calhoun.
Yeah, well, to get to where I am now, there's a lot of stops in between when I started and where I am now, because I'm maybe, I don't know, maybe Will's older than me. I don't know. I think Will, I'm gonna say you're the oldest. I'm gonna say you're the oldest, just so I'm not the oldest person on the panel. But I started doing college radio DJing back in the day. Did street promotions. Ended up getting an A&R gig with Relativity Records, and kind of like my mid-20s. And the first artist I signed A&R was a group called 3-6 Mafia. First record was a big success, and kind of went on, worked at Relativity and other labels, and sort of transitioned into doing digital, in the digital space. And well, I'm probably not as smart as Kelby. I'm not an actual programmer. I did have an idea for a program, and but paid some programmers to build some software for me. And that was kind of my transition to the digital, really heavily into the digital space. I built software for labels to manage their finances and do sort of, financial, planning, modeling, cash flow analysis, that kind of thing. And that grew into what is currently the Music Business Toolbox. And all through that time, I was working with lots of different artists. Like, I was working with Kanye West and Good Music for a while. Started working with Sound Exchange, and I was overseeing the industry relations team and the data management team, and customer service and marketing and PR and all that kind of stuff. And transitioned back into working more closely for the last 10 years, more closely with artists and labels, as opposed to being on the inside at a PRO.
Right. And finally, Mr. Sir Classy.
I would say that I started off my journey in the music, shall I say, business. It first started off as a passion, my first love, which is DJing. That wasn't the formal aspect of it. It was just DJing, doing block parties, DJing in the club. And then after that, it grew into me opening up a music retail store. My formal introduction into the music business was I opened up a music shop. And from when I did that, I started off with one shop, and then I opened up several other shops in different parts of the city, which is Atlanta. And with me having a retail shop, it helped me get a lot of relationships with different people in the music business, from artists, managers, DJs. I mean, anybody that was trying to get their music into the retail space or get their music out there. Majority of people came to see me, and we helped get their music out. Back then, it was different than what we have today, which is digital distribution, which is why we're on this panel. But then we had like more physical stuff. I know a lot of people now don't know about CDs, vinyl, cassette tapes. That's how I started. And from there, one of my good friends, he had did some music. He created a CD, and he knew that I had the connections to get it out. And I took what at that time a cassette, and we turned it into our first project, and that right there started the record label aspect. We went from retail to starting an independent label, and from there, just I learned. I didn't have like a guidebook of how to do the music. I mean, how to start the record label. I just learned like everything. I was inspired by a lot of people, so a lot of things you hear a lot of people say, I did this. I actually did it. Like from getting catching a flight, going to New Orleans, Dallas, learning everybody from the retail. Like that's how I grew from doing radio. So I actually sold records out the trunk. Our label is Dictator Records. We're still in business. Things have changed since I started, and at that point, I gradually went into other aspects of the business, from the music retail, record label, and music publishing. And we're still here today, still growing.
Dope, dope. So all panelists, what advice do you have? What are some of the best practices that you recommend for like unsigned independent artists that are reaching consumers directly, social media and independent distribution? Anybody can answer.
Well, can I start off with that?
Oh, sure.
I was gonna with I'm gonna bounce off what Kelby said earlier. Just learning the business. That's the first initial thing. I know a lot of creatives. They get into this spot where they don't want to really handle their business. They want everybody else to have handle it, because we know they're creatives. But it's one thing to be creative, but at the same time, you don't want you being creative to later on down the line come bite you in the behind. Like we all know the latest that's going on with Kanye talking about all this stuff with his contract. So that, I think that would be like the first thing. I know there's certain things that I pay attention to. Like, yeah, we have these platforms like the social media, Instagram, Facebook. I meet artists, I meet a lot of people, and the first thing they'll say is, I have a lot of followers on these platforms. I'm like, that's fine, but does that transit to actually getting your music to a potential fan or the consumer? Like, how's your Spotify? How's your Apple? How are your streams versus how like let me get it out, like the fame off the Instagram or the Facebook. How's do you have your IRC codes? Do you have your songs registered with Sound Exchange? Do you have your music copyright? Those are the things that I would suggest that anybody that's coming into business learn those things first, which are gonna make you get in a good space versus getting the fame and all the other perks that come. Just handle your business.
So this question is for Brian and J1, since they're both representing Pandora. How can independent artists effectively push for placement and marketing support at digital music platform like Pandora?
Jay, you want me to start or do you want to take it?
I'll start. We get hit with so many songs and artists every week. I think it's like anywhere in between 30 to 40,000 songs get uploaded a week. So there's really no way that we can just determine, which artists should get playlisted over the others just based off of listening to music, because there's no physical way that we could listen to that many songs per week in any given week. So, the thing that we advise artists is, instead of waiting to get playlisted or waiting to be heard by a curator, whether it's at Pandora or any other streaming platform, take matters into your own hands. Focus on your own digital marketing. Look at all the tools that the different DSPs have that will help you promote your music. Look for third-party playlisting to get your streaming numbers up. Do everything in your power to make yourself stand out, so when we are looking to playlist new artists, you have a story, you have something that's already happening, instead of just saying, my song is great, you should playlist it.
Can you just define what third-party playlisting would be for someone who might not be familiar?
Sure. So there are playlists that curators like myself and other curators at different streaming platforms make. And then you have third-party playlisters, whether it's like a DJ that makes their own playlist, an influencer. Sometimes it's magazine companies. There's a variety of third-party playlisters, and some of them have great followings that if you get playlisted on theirs, it'll impact your overall streams.
Brian, you got something to follow with?
Yeah, I mean, he really hit on it. I mean, like Jay said, it's impossible for people who work at Pandora or any other streaming platform to listen to everything that is released. So do what you can with the tools that you're given. Pandora's got a great suite of tools called AMP, which is the artist marketing platform. You can go to the website ampplaybook.com, and there are some really great tools that allow you to take action to your own hands. So you can do things like send messages to fans who are listening, drive traffic to where people could buy merch or tickets, encourage people to listen to your music, and promote and boost the spins of your new singles. There are similar opportunities with, I do think Pandora has the best artist tools, but there are some opportunities also with Spotify. They've got Spotify for Artists, SoundCloud, YouTube. They also have some like really great tools that you can use for marketing and looking at your analytics. Additionally, you can look at analytics on Apple, and most recently, Amazon just added that as well, so that you can look at analytics. And you can't necessarily take action, but you can see how your music is performing on those platforms. And you might also get some of that information from the digital distributor or aggregator that you're using. So yeah, certainly understanding how you, sort of to echo Sir Classic, understanding the business is really important. It's part of why I created the Music Business Toolbox, so that people could understand it. There's definitely a lot of complexities to it, but I'll just say this: like, I always try to. There's only one thing that you take from this conference. You got to understand that there's 2 copyrights in every sound recording, and they are treated very differently. They're completely separate copyrights. There's the composition, which you write, so the notes and the lyrics. That's the copyright for the composition. And then you have the sound recording. So that's what you hear. That's generally referred to as the master recording. They're 2 completely separate copyrights. They're treated differently. You collect money on them differently. Different agencies and organizations collect for them. And it's really important to understand that it is a fundamental, and it's the fundamental building block that everything in the music business is based on. So we do that.
Yeah. I'm just going to trail back just a little bit. I remember Jay once was talking about DSP, so I wanted to jump on that. What are specific recommendations you have for people wanting to get a DSP or a digital music marketing platform, indies and major labels? Like, be as specific as possible so our attendees can leave with something.
Well, DSP stands for digital service provider. So digital service providers are companies like Pandora, Sirius, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, SoundCloud, YouTube, Amazon Music. Those are DSPs. Now, as an independent artist or even as a big artist, you're not necessarily going to do a deal directly with one of those companies. There's just too much music that's being distributed, and it's not possible for them to deal with everybody individually. Yeah. So what you do is you go through what's called a distributor or a digital aggregator, and there's at least dozens of them out there that will do it. So you go to the website, you upload your music, your artwork, your metadata, your payment information. They will distribute your music to all of those platforms, all of those DSPs. And should you get to the point where you start to generate enough streams where there's royalties that are generated, they will collect that money and pay you. Some of the big ones are CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, United Masters. I don't know. There's tons of them. STEM. I don't know. There's dozens of them. So those are the companies. Yeah, there's dozens of them. So and you should look and determine which one makes the most sense for you based on what your needs are. Some of them are some of them are very, very inexpensive and will take no percentage. Some of them charge a little bit and then take no percentage, and some of them charge and take a percentage. So it could be any combination, but it depends on what services they offer. Some of them offer marketing tools at no charge to go along with it. Some of them help with publishing administration as well. So you really have to be diligent about looking and comparing all of them and finding the one that fits is the best fit for you. Beat Chain is another one that I really like. They're relatively new, but super dope. So anyway, those are just a few of them.
So,
I'll piggyback off of what he just said in terms of picking an aggregate. I think a lot of artists pick the company based off of price. Just, oh man, I could do this for $9.99 a year, or this one's $20 per song or album, and not pay attention to the what they actually do as far as the tools, the publishing, where they're collecting, what they help with. And so it's a lot of independent artists end up with music all over the place. Like they released the single over here on this platform, and then they released the album which had the single on it on this platform, and they run into like issues from having their catalog spread out over all these different platforms, that all these different aggregators that they're using to get it up on the same set of DSPs.
I wanted to say something in reference to that as well. To everybody that's listening, I want to get this. When it comes to music distribution, I would first say that I dealt with and currently deal with a couple of them, because as a label, I've had to deal with all of them. Your CD Babies, Distro Kids, TuneCore, or Orchard. Some I deal direct. And what I want aspiring upcoming artists and label managers, whoever you are, to understand is, when you're deciding, going off what Kelby said, don't go after the price. Look at, like he said, what they can do, because I know some of the distributors, one distributor will have your music on this platform, but it's not available on this platform. I know not to put their business out there, for instance, music being on TikTok, or your music being able to be on Instagram. A lot of people on Instagram, and I know certain distributors, when you put your music through them, your music is not available on those platforms, where if you're trying to get a new fan, you want to be able to get to where you have the most spread of your music being out, versus, like you said, going off a price. Keep that in mind.
now I want to, for all my people who've been quiet, guess I'm calling everybody out. Because I think each of the panelists are like super interesting, like me doing my homework. And I think they're super interesting. So I first want to start off with Mr. Will Griggs. I thought it was super dope that you went from like a disc jockey to marketing consultant and working at Warner Brothers and creating a whole festival and doing presentations with ASCAP and the Grammys. And it just kind of shows too, like when you're in this digital distribution media form, that you have to wear several hats. So could you name just one struggle that you had to overcome?
Well, technically in this business, you never want to be above or beyond reinventing yourself. When I got up into the business, there were a lot of technical changes that affected my ability to be successful. For instance, as we started the festival thing that we started, which was called Chocolate Soul, and we started to take that all over the country, one of the things that we decided to bolster that and to then take advantage of was the fact that we had built a national tribe. So we decided to put out a series of records, compilation series under that record label, which did very, very well. However, once it came down to the time of 2000, you're going into 2005, into 2009, the whole CD platform began to erode and everything became digital. So each time these shifts happen, either technically or each time there's a shift in the music industry where the industry might take a downturn, you should certainly be available to use some other tools in your toolbox to help you either move your career forward, to help you gather more fans, or to help you build your tribe. Technically, the beauty of the situation right now is, especially for a young artist or young producer or anyone who wants to put out a piece of art, is that the sky is the limit and the gatekeepers are gone to a certain extent. Meaning that if you have a very, very effective way of building your digital tribe, effective way of marketing and attaching yourself to them, there's really no blockages. You don't necessarily need an A&R person to sign you and then go through the whole record deal route. You don't necessarily need to be beating down the door of the music directors and program directors in your town or around the country to try to get radio play. There's ways for you to attack this situation and build your tribe and get as many record sales or streams or whatever it is that you're trying to build right there in front of you. Now, in that regard, each one of these things is another dot that you have to connect. When you're talking about what you're building as far as your streams and everything that happens from Spotify to Pandora and all those things, that's a certain set of dots that has to be connected because those fans are there and they're actually out seeking people's music. They're seeking those digital experiences, just like part of your fan base will be built by your social media. One of the things that has to be remembered as far as dealing with social media is that there's 3 portions of that and only 2 of them are really being accessed fully. Facebook, everybody uses Facebook. It's a little bit more passe. Right now, people are using things like Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok a whole lot more. But one of the pieces of equipment that they fail to utilize is the audience network. And the audience network is a part of that social media platform that's owned by Facebook. And as people are going out purchasing ads for Facebook and Instagram and all those types of things, adding that audience network element to it is the element that is going to increase your tribe a whole lot more than just using those 2. In addition to that, you want a really, really good web presence. Gone are the days when you can just survive on Instagram. You got to have Instagram, Facebook. You got to have all these other digital platforms that are passive music listening platforms going for you. You want to use your website as another platform to have fans be able to buy your music directly. So when all these other things start to work for you and your tribe is built and all of a sudden you have a certain amount of momentum, you're then able to have fans buy your music, stream your music, or whatever the case may be, or your merch right from your website as well. And there's things that you want to do to help bolster that when it comes to search engine optimization and you know, whatever marketing you're going to do for that. So I know that's kind of a lot of things added together, but it kind of brings us to where we are right now as far as artists want to distribute their music digitally and being able to change roles or positions to do that.
Yeah. You said now, like, you got to have more than one hat. You can't just be good at one thing. You have to be on and active on multiple sites. So this is a question for everyone. What do you think are the future trends in your specific area of expertise post-COVID and beyond?
I feel like COVID, and to an extent with the this is going to be a blessing in disguise, because it's forced new norms. We've had so much technology available to us for so long, but like, for instance, this conference, the fact that everyone can be all across the country and we come together and we're holding this conference digitally on Zoom. And this makes it so much more easy for everyone to participate in and makes it accessible for so many more people who could afford to come to the conference but couldn't afford to travel, or all of these different things. And so we've had this technology at our disposal for a very long time. I started my first online radio station in like 2001, 2002 with Live 365. Like, and I was playing my own music and mixing stuff in. Like, this technology has been around for so long, but I feel like COVID has forced us to adjust to new norms. So now when someone says, oh yeah, we're doing it on Zoom, oh, I'm familiar with that because I had to do that at my job, or I checked out this conference. And so now we're in a space where the consumers have been, I feel like, more mentally conditioned to be accepting of a digital concert, or things that previously that would have been like, nah, I'd rather, because it's so much more comfortable. Like, when you have the option of the live experience of these things, you're not even going to try something new because you know what you're used to works, or you like what you're used to. But when what you're used to is no longer an option, then it's like, well, I'm tired of just sitting in this house watching Netflix. Let me go see what Meg doing on Tidal. Like, and it's like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. And so now who else got one coming up? And that's that. I feel like it shifted mentally the psyche of the consumer, where they're gonna ready for these new platforms, and those are gonna create new income streams and new possibilities for the industry as a whole.
Anybody got something to say, piggyback?
Who'd you call? Did you call me?
No, if you would like to speak.
Oh, no. I'm good. No, I already said quite a bit. I already said quite a bit.
Okay, cool. Well, I do want you to answer though, in considering digital distribution options, what should like artists or managers consider? Because I know you said earlier something had to be the right fit for you. So what do you consider the right fit? What are some things that people should consider when they're trying to make those final decisions?
So I think that there are two things to consider when you're an artist and you're thinking about signing a deal. For instance, so I'll take it from start at that end. Like if you're an artist and you're considering doing a deal, there's really two reasons to sign a deal. One is for money, and the other one is expertise to help you navigate and do things, right? So you've got to figure sort of where on the spectrum you lie. You have no money and no expertise. You got to learn, make some money so you can do it, or you're going to have to sign a deal with someone who can bring those things to the table. Now, I think in sort of like where we are in this day, with all the barriers to entry having come down, you know, it's super cheap and easy to record, super cheap and easy to distribute, and you know, relatively cheap to market. And then the expertise really comes from experience and learning and being aggressive about learning. So when you sort of like figure out where you are in with respect to those things and you start learning, then you can start going through and looking at a comparison of the distribution platforms. So some of them have marketing tools built into them, or as a part of their services, like BeatChain and CD Baby, and United Masters has some. They have some tools. Some of them have more, some of them have fewer, but you have to make the determination about what you need. If you feel like you don't need those things because, you know, you can do your own website and link aggregation to the DSPs, you know, can run your own ad campaigns, then maybe you need something more stripped down and you just need them to put the music out there. But you need to be able to execute on the things that are going to help you connect with the fans and foster a relationship that will allow you ultimately to make money on that relationship. And that comes from different ways. It's going to come from them streaming your music, downloading your music, maybe buying pre-orders, or you know, a bundle with you know, a CD or a T-shirt or something like that, coming to see your shows. So there's a number of different ways you can monetize that relationship. But especially for an artist, it is important to develop the relationship with the fan, and using, you know, in addition to using the DSPs to help develop that relationship, you want to have direct relationships with them. And that really comes in the form of emails and cell phone numbers. So you should be using some kind of email platform, you know, like FanBridge or MailChimp or Drip, and you should be using some kind of cell phone or mobile phone connection as well, something like Superphone or Community or Fan App. Those are ways that you can collect cell phone numbers from people. And you know, to follow up on Will's point, you know, with respect to running ads, I mean, that is the most effective thing that you can do as you develop these relationships, is running ads and growing the audience. And there's sort of two primary ways that you can do that. It's Facebook Ad Manager. You run ads on Facebook, Instagram, and the Facebook Ad Network through Facebook Ad Manager, and then Google. And Google, that's Google AdWords, and YouTube. That's where you'll run ads for them. And when you, just going back to the cell phones and email list, when you have them, you can do some really cool. You can take those email addresses and cell phone numbers of your fans and you can upload them to Facebook. Facebook will match those email addresses and cell phone numbers with people's accounts, and then you can run ads to those people. So maybe if you collect, 10,000 email addresses and cell phone numbers, you upload them, it'll match, maybe 5,000 of them match. You now have 5,000 people that you can run ads to. You can show them your videos, show them offers, try to encourage them outside of just sending them emails. And then as people engage, you can do what's called a lookalike audience, where you say, hey, Facebook, go find me more people like these people who've already engaged, and it'll expand that audience. But that stuff takes expertise. You know, as easy as I just rattled off how to do it, you know, that you should do it, there's, a fair amount of complexity in executing on those platforms.
Yeah, building on what Brian just said, yeah, some of those things can be very tricky. So in addition to coming to the table with a team or a set of team members that have expertise that can help you jump those hurdles or make sure that you're effective in all of those ways, even as you're building and as you're starting out, you want to attack these things with a plan. This whole internet and social media thing is a vast universe that's easy to get washed away and lost in if you don't understand that the plan starts with the first steps that grow out into the other steps. For instance, like Brian mentioned, all these different types of digital advertising are very important, but you want to put the first steps first, and you want to make sure that the steps that you're taking match whatever budgetary constraints you might have. If you have some type of budgetary constraints, then what you're doing in social media as far as advertising is probably going to be your first steps, because advertising through Google or doing some type of Google AdWord campaign can be a bit more expensive, and it's a lot trickier, and it takes someone with more expertise. As you're looking at attaching your audience or building them or really having them react to what you're doing as far as social media is concerned, one thing to really remember first and foremost is that as you're looking to do your advertising, moving images always go further than still images, and they, for whatever reason, are more successful and help you with your activations. And number two, you want to be very, very clear about what type of movement, activation, or what type of action you want that person that you're connecting with to take. You want them to go and connect with your website or your social media for more info about you. You want them to go to your website to actually buy something. You want them to go to your Instagram page to buy something or comment on something. All these things are the end game for the plan that you're putting together. So from step A all the way to the end game, you want to make sure that your plan has a good bit of efficacy, if at all possible.
Hey,
I would say that when it comes to the digital space, I think the reason most independents fail within the digital space, just in general with the digital space, is because they never set a destination. They just get on the road and start cruising, and eventually you run out of gas. And it's like a lot of the things that you pointed out, like you can be effective with the ads, you can be effective with all of these things. But when you have no destination, when you don't have a conversion, like what it is that you're looking for, what the action is that you want people to take, and like kind of piggybacking off of what Classic said just at the beginning, is understanding business. And when I say understand business, I don't mean publishing or necessarily ISRC codes or any of these different things. I'm specifically speaking to just the concept of business, that you are creating something of value and you plan on getting something of value back. You plan on monetizing something, whether it's merch, whether it's show money, whether you want to build your brand up so that you can get booked for paid shows because your brand will bring people to the venue. Like you have an audience that will tune in to hear music, or they're looking for your music. So it behooves these platforms, these playlisters, these shows to actually play your music because they're getting something of value out of it. And so when you realize what your value proposition is that you're trying to create in the marketplace, whether it's your brand to get shows or features or whatever it is, then you can invest your money in the things that will add to your brand or add to that value that you're able to create. And often too many people are just looking for numbers. I think the thing with the digital space is the digital space has created so much opportunity for independence because it separated the point of consumption from the point of purchase. Like when it was a CD and you came to me with a CD and it's $10, $15, like I have to choose in that moment to pay for it. and then consume it and be like, this was kind of whack, or man, this was great. But now it's I the point of purchase is auto pay, $10 coming out, $15 coming out. And now I can explore anything. So as the consumers are much more likely to, oh, you heard about something, let me pull it up real quick and listen to it. Oh, this is my new favorite song. And so it's like the consumers are there, but that drop in the barrier to entry, like Brian was talking about, just like it's dropped for you, it's dropped for everybody. So everybody has access and everybody has that same thing. So you have to look at, okay, how am I going to differentiate myself in the market and bring value to the people so that I'm creating a value proposition that ultimately can make me money.
Real quick, I just wanted to add on, don't neglect the power of influencer marketing as well. You have YouTubers out there, you have a bunch of social media people who have big presence and real followings that are helping to break artists nowadays and introducing artists to, you know, a bigger audience and stuff like that. So, and a lot of these times, these influencers aren't charging a whole lot of money. So whether it's getting a placement in one of their skits on YouTube or one of their skits on TikTok or something like that, these are very viable and effective marketing tools on top of everything that everybody has mentioned.
Let me add
Yeah,
on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to add on one thing for the artists that are listening, or record label, whoever you are. When you create your art, one thing that that a lot of people don't do is find out what your art, who you're trying to sell to. Like Kelby said, and J1 said, just don't be just out there. Like if you are a trap rapper, or you whatever type of artist you are, so try to find your audience, because when it comes to the marketing, like if you're marketing on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever platform that you are marketing, promoting your music on, learn demographics of this person. These are the type of people that I'm trying to get to come across my music. Just don't throw it like on the wall hoping that it will stick. What I've noticed with a lot of artists and people have asked me, hey, do you do Instagram posts or do you do Facebook ads and all that? And I say, yeah, we do it. But I always say to them, some of those platforms, find out, ask yourself or your team, if you have a team, is this something good? Like, I'm gonna give some gems right now. A couple years ago, everybody was advertising, doing Instagram ads. I ran Instagram ads. We all know certain people box certain platforms. For instance, Facebook. A lot of times, Facebook is known to be the old people. That's where all the old people are on, versus the hip kids on Instagram. So if you are, say, I'm trying to think, a trap rapper, probably Instagram will be more helpful of you promoting versus you going to on Facebook, because Facebook is like my mom age and older people that's on there, so they're not gonna probably be looking at what you're trying to get to them. So you really want to know the platform that you choose to promote your music, or if you're promoting doing Google ads or ads on YouTube. Just find the demographics of your art, where you're trying to like direct it to. And that's one thing I noticed, everybody just throwing things out there, but they, like he said, there's no call of action of where it's going towards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you kind of piggybacked off of what I was going to say. Like, this is how I would describe the social media landscape, is like the club scene. Is like, it's social media. We go to clubs to socialize. And so you got strip clubs, you got lounges, you feel me? You got like dance clubs. Like, each club has its own vibe, and you go there for a certain thing. Like, I go here because the hookah lounge, laid back, kick it, relax with my little people. Like, strip club, just going there to throw some money, have a good time, look at some ladies. Like that's Instagram. Like, this is Facebook. This is Snapchat. That's the under 21 club. You feel me? Like there are different types of clubs, and you go there for different environments. And so understanding that when you're on that platform, you have to do what makes sense for that platform. If we trying to watch the game, we're gonna go to a sports bar because it's TVs up everywhere, and people are there for the game. So you're gonna socialize with people you don't even know, but they Patriots fans just like you. And so like a lot of independents come just look at social media as this monolithic thing, and they just do the same thing everywhere, just promoting their music. And it's this idea that, you know, it's free promotion, but it's like, if you're if any one of you guys are out celebrating a birthday with one of your friends at a hookah lounge, y'all having a good time and enjoying the company of your friends, y'all there being social. An artist coming up to you in the middle of y'all singing happy birthday, be like, oh, you know, I sing, here's my demo, follow me on Snapchat. Like, you're gonna be like, really, bruh? Like, this ain't the time nor the place. But if they catch you here at the music conference, like when we're at the music conference and you're walking through the house, it's still another event, or it's a networking event, an industry networking event, you're going to be way more receptive to that message. So it's about the message and the things that you're pushing. You want to have the right message on the right platforms. And so like, that's the thing that I encourage all artists to do. Like, you have platforms that are fitting for the various things that you do. Don't be the same on every single platform.
Yeah, 100%. You know, adding to what Kelby said, because that piece of information that he just dropped on everybody is probably one of the most important things that's been said during this whole panel. You know, it's easy for people to always try to put power in the platform, power in Facebook, power in Instagram, power in TikTok, Snapchat. The power is not in the platform. The power is in your tribe. Just like they mentioned influencers. I think that was Sir Classic that mentioned the influencers. That's a perfect example of that. Wherever those influencers go, that's where their audience is going to go. It doesn't matter what platform they're on, and that's the way you have to build your audience. And that's why what Kelby was saying is so important, because if I want to go listen to some type of neo soul situation, then, you know, most of the time I won't be listening to Power 106 out here. You know what I mean? So it's super important to know how to grab your power base, which is your tribe.
Let me just add one quick point with respect to how you run ads. And I'm going to say something that's maybe a little bit contrarian to some of the things that's said here, but you do have the ability to target people based on their interests. So, you know, even if they are on Facebook, if they, you can run ads to people who are interested in the kind of music that you make on Facebook or on Instagram. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to sort of like limit where you go with running ad campaigns. This is, you know, I'm talking about paid, but because the system what's made this company worth so many billions of dollars is that they do a really good job of being able to find people who have interests in what it is that you are selling. So I'd say just keep that in mind when you're looking at running campaigns. And again, working with somebody who, you know, is effective and really knows the details of running ad campaigns, doing lookalike audiences, you know, building audiences based on, you know, high levels of engagement. You know, so there's many layers to running these campaigns.
Right.
Going back to what Brian was saying, try not to look at it as Instagram versus Facebook versus TikTok. As you're building a tribe, all of these things have value. So think of them as like building a soup, or think of them as a certain number of dots to connect, where each one is another dot, and they all come together to help you grow. So like Brian was saying, there's a great many fans that a trap artist can get out of Facebook. And there's a great many fans that a neo soul artist can get out of Instagram and everywhere in between.
There's a platform called Chartmetric. That's also a good platform where you can, like for instance, I manage an artist. Not really, hypothetically. I'm gonna go on Chartmetric and look at his numbers on Chartmetric and look at other artists, recommendations, other artists that fit in with him in terms of people who listen to him, who else are they listening to? Then I'm gonna take that list of artists, the bigger ones. I'm gonna run people who are interested on Facebook in those bigger artists. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go set up a bot on a server. I'm gonna extract all the followers from those people on Twitter or Instagram. Then I'm gonna run a DM campaign to those individuals and open-ended question like, hey, we thinking about doing some shows in your area. What's a good venue for us to reach out to? Something that's not, hey, here's my link, that's gonna more likely get a response. So then we can start a conversation with them and build up some engagement. And now they've seen the artist, and then turn around and redirect that market research into, okay, here are some potential places to go. We've got them familiar, and turn that conversation into possibly being like, well, you think they would be receptive to this type of record? We probably gonna do some radio there. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out, because now it's a conversation. It ain't just coming in hot, here's my music. And so it's like so many ways that you can really utilize this stuff. And it's some black hat stuff, some gray hat stuff. Like, it's not exactly just running ads natively on the platform, but it's a lot of different ways that you can really get a lot of good information and apply it. I think one of the things that a lot of independents are scared of is just really spending money. And they look toward just the native post as a way. I hear this all the time. Well, why spend money on ads when you could just do it for free? And it's like, yeah, you can get it there, but you can't target it. And then you don't get the information that helps you spend more money intelligently. So that's a couple of just the things that I would recommend when it comes to the platform is exploring all your options on all the platforms.
Yeah, and I said to go, yeah, you can do it for free, but you're going to reach a very small number of people. If you want to reach tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of people, you got to pay for it straight up. I'd also one other tool out there, because Facebook Ad Manager is complicated. There's a really great tool I like called Foundy, FOUND.EE, and they have a network that's designed and built for musicians, and you can run ads on Rolling Stone and Pitchfork and Complex, and they're an intermediary to help you run ads on iHeart and Spotify as well. So it's a really great platform that's really a lot easier to use.
Thank you.
It's interesting.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Y'all, this is such a great dialogue, but I want to have time to get into Q&A before we close, because it's already 1 o'clock. So the first question is from Lamika Huntley, and this is for Kelby. When you speak of being an independent artist, we're strictly independent on the hustle side as a business entrepreneur, as in building your brand and helping other independent artists, selling beats, studio time, features, or did you partake in the 9-to-5 to invest in yourself?
I didn't, but I recommend everybody else does. So I always made money before I think I had a job bagging groceries. I saved up money and bought a computer. And then from there, I started a desktop publishing firm. Like, I was like 16, 17, doing business cards and layouts and paperwork for security companies and lawn care companies. So I made money and I had my own business, and then I funneled that into doing music. But I tell every artist, I'm not Gary Vee. I'm not the guy who's gonna be like, quit your job and just like, there's a lot of that online where like, forget all that security. Like, I hate that, because a lot of the bad decisions get made under duress. The contracts that people complain about get signed under duress. It was a good damn deal when you signed it. That's why you signed it. Like, if you complain about a contract that you signed, that's because the new you, like the new situation that you in, now dictates that it's a bad contract. But the old you was loving it.
Yep.
So So having a 9 to 5 is like it can be very crucial because it's not even just in the money, it's just having that security for you to be able to not have to like, man, like don't sign your publishing away because you 2 months behind on your mortgage. Because those are the real life situations that like you may have to face. Someone may come with a deal that if you can hold out a couple more months would be a much better offer, but because they sense that energy that you need it, oh, we ain't gonna offer them that. Why? That's not good business.
Now, anyone, it doesn't matter. Give insight on how to reach out to marketing and ask for assistance with growing marketing.
Know your budget. Like I think that's one of the things that people always ask for help and don't have a budget. Like you always know what you're willing to spend when you ask anyone for anything. But there's this thing where we I think culturally we're conditioned to not feel comfortable speaking about money a lot of the times. But it's like if we're going out to eat, we know whether we're going to Papa Do's or Wendy's. Like you know what you're looking to spend. And so like when you reach out to marketing companies, promotion firms, publicists, whatever it is, you should have an idea of where you're at and what you're looking to spend. And that's gonna speed up the process of having a open and honest conversation and getting to what it is, because that number isn't gonna change. If you only have $3,000, you're not gonna miraculously have $30,000 at the end of the conversation. And the person who's charging $30,000 isn't gonna miraculously be like, I'll give you a $27,000 discount. So just be open and honest at the beginning of the conversation, and that person might be able to point you in the right direction, or if it's closer to what they might work with you. But I say just being very open with figuring out what your budget is and just approaching people from that standpoint, ready to do business.
Luke Lane said, this message is for any of the panelists. Could you speak on the value of building your own platform as opposed to being subject to the existing models? What level of patience might I need to be prepared for?
When you start talking about building up your own platform, that can be a pretty cash intensive and difficult thing to build. If you want to build a platform for your own web presence, then naturally, working with a company like us that can help you build your website and things that go along with your website are great. When we start talking also about your own platform, you have to ask yourself, who's going to be on the platform? If you're on your own platform, then who are you selling to? You're selling to yourself. These platforms have value because they have billions and billions and billions of followers and people on them every day. So that's certainly something to consider.
Yeah, and unless you're talking about building a platform like a competitor to Spotify or Apple or something, unless you've got an extra $100, $200 million, I would think about something else.
Okay, the next question.
I would say. I would say your section.
I want to just get through all the questions before, because we see the time. Now they trying to kick us out. Okay, so you ready? Mr. Thompson, he says, how to keep growing and growing as an independent artist when there isn't much opportunity right now?
I disagree with
I don't think that question,
I disagree with the premise.
I totally disagree with that.
There's tons of opportunity. You just got to do it. You start with 10, then you get 100, then you get 500, then you get 1,000. You got to build your fan base, direct connections. I already mentioned using email, using cell phone numbers to connect and grow your fans. Then use platforms. I would encourage you guys to check out Indiepreneur. They are, in my opinion, the best platform when it comes to running ad campaigns for musicians. I use them for superstar artists and new artists. They are rock stars, and they've got advice and classes and stuff like that that can teach you how to build your fan base based on what I've just said.
And last question from Ryan McKinley. What are the best marketing companies and promotion companies to work with?
Indiepreneur. I just said that's the one I say.
You check them out.
I mean, I personally don't think there's any best. Like, it's what's right for you. And so, like, you got to address what your budget is and what your goals are. Like, where you're starting out and where you're trying to go is, like, I always compare it to like Google Maps. I got to know where you're at and where your destination is, and then we can route it. But, like, depending on the traffic, depending on where you're starting from, that route is going to be different, and it's going to be different for everybody. And so, like, you just got to really have a honest conversation with yourself on where am I and where am I trying to go, and then you find the companies or platforms that fit along that route.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our participants who showed up and showed out on this Saturday afternoon. We appreciate everyone who came and just gained some game from these amazing men and in this opportunity, even though in these trying times. I think it's super dope that MBE conference is still pushing on, still doing it virtually. And I'm so happy that they asked me to be a part of it. So thank you guys so much for coming. This is the end. If you want to leave like your name, just a takeaway of like your name and how people can follow you and keep up with you, then we just do that right quick and then close out.
Kelby Cannett, publisher, Making It Magazine, founder of membership.
Go ahead, Kelby.
Just here to help people. Like, very simple. Like, that's it. And you guys can take from there. We got the music review coming up next, so I gotta get ready for that. But definitely appreciate everybody who's in here. And honored to share the stage with these fine individuals. Brian, Will, Classic. Like, I know all these individuals personally, and have seen, like, I remember when J1 first started it hot, like, we had him in the magazine, like, and watching him move up through the ranks in Radio 1 and land over at Pandora with Brian, like, dope stuff. So just grateful to be here. Thanks to Arlinda for this platform.
Let me say also, it's a wonderful step that everybody is taking as they're going to conferences or taking part in this digital conference. Brian and I have been doing this. We were really, really young. But, like I say, take advantage of this time, because there's not a better time for you to be successful and have less pushback on your success. You should certainly take time to connect with people like Brian and Kelby and everyone who can help you grow that tribe. Myself at Modern Artisans Creative, at www.modernartisanscreative.com. We actually help artists build websites and help them grow their digital presence in all of these areas. And it's tailored for whatever their special thing is. So that's the type of things you want to use to build your network.
J1
So
or Sir Classic, I want to jump in.
I wanted to say, Sir Classic from Dictator Records. I wanted to just start off by saying thank you to Arlinda Garrett for creating this music conference, which is very vital to and professionals that's already in the business. I want to say thank you to the team, the rest of the panelists. I've learned some things myself, and I hope that anyone that's tuned in will be able to use some of this information that has been spread today for the advancement of their career. To find dictators class.
I'll go. What's up? Thank you all so much for having me. Thanks, Arlinda. Thanks to my fellow panelists. I definitely appreciate this opportunity. I'm really glad, and everybody should be appreciative for sure to Arlinda for putting this thing together. I'm at Brian Calhoun. I dropped it in the chat a minute ago. Brian Calhoun on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's at Brian Calhoun, BRYAN CALHOUN, and Music Business Toolbox, musicbusinesstoolbox.com, and Instagram on Music Business Toolbox as well. Thanks for having me. And make sure you follow J1. He does these artist interviews damn near 2 a day. It's crazy. He's always dropping game, like ridiculous amount of knowledge on a regular basis. So when he's about to drop you his socials, make sure you follow him and check him out.
Thanks, Brian. So yeah, my social, I actually put it under my name, so you can follow me at Poster Child J1. And I just want to give a big shout out to our Linda and everybody that has made this conference possible, especially virtually in this climate, because this is a very important conference for the culture. It's one of my favorite conferences that I look forward to every year. So I'm glad we were able to continue to make it happen.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you again, Ms. Arlinda and MBE Conference. I was your moderator for the day, Dree Taylor. You can follow me at _DREETAYLOR. Yeah. So thank you guys so much, but stay. Because, you know, we got cool keynote speaker, Kevin Lyles is speaking, and then with some more panels. So yeah, thank you guys. Hope you learned something. Bye.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have our music review with Making It Mag, and then we're going to get into our women's panel, Women in Marketing panel.
Big ups to Linda Garrett and the MBEC.
Indeed, indeed. So if I can just get our Women in Marketing panel to hang tight, we